archaic rule. But the scriptures are full of principles that we can live by. In other words, there are things we can glean from the scriptures, things we can absorb from the scriptures that kind of will, it was written 2,000 years ago, and it can still apply to our life today because principles are timeless. They'll guide you. They'll help you. No matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing. If you talk about principles, everybody can listen. So I'm going to talk about a few principles in Colossians 4 so that you can live a great life and raise a great family. And so open your Bible to Colossians chapter 4. So Colossians chapter 4 was a letter written to a church in the ancient town of Colossus, kind of where modern-day Turkey is right now. And Colossus is kind of a funky little town. They were really dwindling as a town because the Roman Empire came through and decided to reroute a major trade road. Because if you went through Colossus, which is kind of, sort of up the coast in Turkey, so it's not on the coast, but it was a trade route, so you'd pass right through Colossus and then go down into Ephesus and be right there on a seaport. So, lots of mercantile exchange, and they would raise sheep out there, so the wool was really good. But when Rome came in, when the government came in and decided to change things, it messed a lot of people up. You ever experienced that? Yeah. Amen. And the government came in and pretty much ruined Colossus. Now all these people who are there raising families, you're stuck. You can't move. Why? Because your business dwindled and now you don't got the finances or the health or whatever your reason was to get out of town. They were stuck. Now here's another crazy thing about Colossus. It was a geological anomaly, kind of like Yellowstone. They would have different geysers and hot springs there. There's an underground river. It's still there. And so they're desperate looking for answers. They see a geyser and they're like, oh, it's an angel. And Paul had, the guy who wrote this letter, had never even been there. Some friends from Ephesus went to Colossus and shared the good news. They knew they were hurting. They were like, we've got to leave the 99 and go save the one. And they went up to Colossus and shared Jesus with them. And they grabbed onto the message out there. And so Paul writes this letter. He says, I've never met you guys, but I've heard a lot of good things about you. And let me tell you a little bit about what being a Christian is like. And then he writes the letter to the Colossian church, the book of Colossians. It's only in chapter and verse so that we can study it. And so in Colossians chapter 4, really, he's just continuing what he had spoken in Colossians chapter 3. Remember, this is a letter. He didn't write it in chapter and verse, but we separated it into chapter and verse later so we could reference it and study. But he starts it off and he says, Masters, be just and fair, because he's talking about work. He's saying, workers, work is unto the Lord. Because your boss, good chance he's a jerk. If you're a boss, I don't know. Maybe not you, but the other one is. Right. and then right, and I don't know why the translators included verse 1 in chapter 4. I think it should have been in chapter 3. But then he's continuing the same line of thought because he's saying, workers, work is unto the Lord. Do a good job wherever you're at. Because you're not working for people anymore. You're working for the Lord. And then he says, hey, bosses, don't be a jerk. Be fair. Be good. Those are principles. You should share that with your boss. Listen here, boss man, I just want to meet with you. I went to church on Sunday. No, you could tell him I said that, though. You'd be like, I just don't want you to get yourself in trouble. But he says this, verse 2, And he starts it out like this. He says, devote yourself to prayer with an alert mind and a thankful heart. Now, if you have the bulletin, or if you're looking online, or if you have our app, the app pretty much baptizes your phone. So if you text the word app to our texting number, you'll get the Inspire app, and all the notes are on there, and it'll baptize your phone. Make it holy. Pastor Tim in your pocket, wherever you go. Listen, but here's my first point, and to be honest, I really couldn't glean it from Colossians chapter 4, but it's a good one, and it pertains to raising your kids. And it's what I always start out when I talk about family and raising kids, because you can't get around it. Sometimes we think we can, but we don't. And here it is. Kids watch better than they listen. Any of you have a good listener as a kid? Maybe one hand. Kids, but here's what they do. Kids watch. They watch. They watch you. They won't do what you say, but they'll do what you do. They see you when we don't see you. My kids see me when you don't see me. And that makes a big difference in their life on how we handle and go about our daily lives. Because your kids will watch what you do and how you act and then emulate that. So be a good example. If you want to raise healthy kids, then set the example of being a healthy person. Number two is found in verse 2 of Colossians. Life and parenting is tough. I can't come out here and go, okay, I can make parenting easier in these 3 easy steps. No way. You'd go home and be like, I'm going to try this, and it wouldn't work. It would still be tough. And you'd be like, that preacher's full of crap. But life and parenting is hard. So pray. Pray. You know what prayer does? Connects you to the resources of heaven. I personally, I know I don't have what it takes. I know I'm lacking. I know that when I need answers, or when I don't understand what's happening with my kids or in my relationship with my wife, when I mess up or go about things the wrong way, I know I need to make sure my connection with God is right. And then I can go to Him and say, Lord, help me. Even if I can't stress this enough, that if I am in a total hole, I have no way out, I don't know, I have no good answers. I'm in a desert and I need water. I know this, that when I pray, I get answers. I know this, that when you pray, you get answers. Let me tell you something quick about prayer. Heard it the other day, it was great. Jesus said, to him who asks, receives. To him who seeks, finds. And to him who knocks, the door will be open. And I love that analogy. Because I want to give you a perspective of prayer that this sequence teaches. Because God says, come and ask. Ask me. Ask. I'm listening. Ask. And we go to ask. And then God moves us to the next step. Seek. See, sometimes we think, oh, I'm just going to ask and sit. Right? I ask the Lord, and I'm going to sit and listen. That preacher was full of crap. Didn't hear nothing except weird things. Because what God will do is He's going to bring you into a process. And you're going to pray. And you're going to ask. And then he's going to move you to the next step, seek. You see, everything has a cost. Everything. People say, well, the gospel is free. Yeah. If you read the scriptures, Jesus is like, you got to give up everything to follow me. We don't talk about that in church because, we lose people. Because they don't want to give up everything. They're like, I kind of like some of this stuff, and I still want to do that. And Jesus said, you got to give it all up to follow me. And so we ask God, and then he moves us to this place where we're seeking. He's like, yeah, I got an answer for you. I've got a resource for you. And so we go, okay, what is it? And he goes, get real close, because I'm going to whisper. So we get real close, and we don't hear nothing. So we go back, Lord, I'm still seeking. And all of a sudden we get this little idea. I should read the Bible. God's like, ding. And so we open our Bible, and oh, wow, I've never read this before. That's amazing. Kind of feel like it's talking to me. And here God is inviting you into this process with him that he's going to walk you through. Because some answers don't appear like magic. No. God takes us through the steps of, okay, this is what you want. This is how to get it, and this is the cost. Do you still want it? God, I just want $1 million, pay all my bills. Okay. Let's talk about the cost. Because you're going to have to stop that job you got right now, go back to school, open a bit. Come on. Lord, I just want to win the lottery. Have you ever watched those documentaries on winning the lottery? Those people turn out awful. Yeah, that would be like the worst thing. I remember one time, don't tell my wife I said this, right? She's over there. She bought a lottery ticket. I'm like, what are you doing buying a lottery ticket? She's like, it's like $100 billion. Somebody's going to win, and it's not going to be you. It's me, Mr. Skeptic. And I'm like, if you had all that money, it would ruin your life. Ruin it. You're like, no, wouldn't it make it awesome? Mm-mm. All your friends would change. Your family would hate you. They'd be like, don't you owe me like $1 million? Your brother-in-law twice removed from your third cousin. Right? Be like, hey, remember me, bruh? There's a cost. So God, you ask, and then you're seeking. And then you know what happens? God brings you to the resource and says, okay, there it is. And now you knock. I still want it. Lord, help me. I want a better life. I need a better relationship. I want a better job. I want to be able to raise my kids right. He's like, that's a great, great ask. Let me bring you into the process to let you know what it's going to take, because you're going to have to live differently. And he doesn't do it all at once, because we'd be like, oh, no, wait, no, I don't want that. That's the thing about kids, though. Kids will